move increasingly into SUVs and automakers work to add as many as possible, Land Rover's already ahead of the game because it's never made anything but sport utilities. That includes my ride, the 2021 Discovery. The name was relaunched in 2017 as a more luxury-style replacement for the outgoing LR4. For 2021, there are some minor changes to the exterior, including gently redesigned lights. Most of the differences are in the cabin, which gets a larger center touchscreen and some revised controls. There are two engines available, starting with a turbocharged 4-cylinder in the Discovery P300 that makes 295 horsepower. I've got the step up, the P360, with a turbocharged inline 6-cylinder making 355 horsepower and 369 foot-pounds of torque. An 8-speed automatic is standard with both, as is all-wheel drive. The 4-cylinder starts at $68,600, while the 6-cylinder P360 begins at $37,700. I have the next step up, the R-Dynamic, starting at $76,100. Mine has a slew of options on it, and it's charted to $90,755 before freight and taxes. Those options include 4-zone climate control with a cooled console box, my 21-inch gloss black wheels, a hands-free liftgate, adaptive cruise control with stop and go, and a premium stereo. Styling is subjective, of course, and overall the Discovery has good bones. It has a handsome face, and in profile, the lines flow cohesively from front to back. And that's a refreshing change when so many automakers are going to angular body line cuts that seem to stop and start all over the place. But straight on at the back, I think the Discovery is too narrow for how tall it is, and it looks tippy. It doesn't lean much more or much less than any other tall SUV around corners, but like almost every other very off-road capable machine, it undulates over the slightest bump or dip in the road. Keep that in mind if you're looking for more of a pavement prince than an off-road warrior, and check on your test drive to be sure you're okay with it. If you do go off-road, the Discovery has selectable driving modes that optimize it for surfaces such as mud, ruts, grass, or sand. There's a rock crawl mode and low range for the really rough stuff. If there's a stream in the way, you can ford up to 900 millimeters, and there's a wade sensor that tells you how deep you're in so you don't get into trouble. The adjustable suspension can be lifted for off-roading, and there's hill descent control. There's also all-terrain progress control, and that's a low-speed cruise control that goes to a maximum of 30 kilometers an hour when you're on the trail. I'm not sure how many people will actually take something this expensive far enough out that they're crawling over rocks and fording through rivers, but that's the case with most premium off-roaders. If nothing else, you have the bragging rights. The 6-cylinder is pricier, but it's a really nice engine, powerful but smooth and quiet. The transmission is a good fit to it, the steering is smooth and responsive, and it's a great and very comfortable highway hauler. The updated cabin looks much better than before, but there are a few things about the interior where the Discovery and I part ways, starting with that new and bigger touchscreen. It's easier to use than the old one, but it's still not easy. The screen can be slow to respond, especially when it's cold. Sometimes one tap will do the job, sometimes you need two to wake it up, sometimes you have to hold your finger on it longer to get something to happen. The climate control uses big dials for temperature, which is good. You pull them out to access the fan speed and push them in to operate the heated or cooled seats. The old dial shifter has been replaced with a push-pull lever. Some people don't like dials, but I do, and I far prefer them to these electronic monstrosities that are showing up in too many vehicles. A dial is a simple twist, but here you have to hit a separate button for park. Eliminating unnecessary steps should be every automaker's goal. The Discovery is a 7-seater, and in my tester, the second and third rows are optioned to power operation. You can activate them from buttons in the door jamb, or in the cargo compartment, or from that center screen. There's also a button at the back to lower the adaptive suspension to make it easier to load. The second row seat back power folds, but then you have to reach down and manually slide the whole thing forward or back. In most 3-row models, including far cheaper mainstream ones, it's a simple single lever operation. Those seats also fold down for more cargo capacity, although my second row doesn't go completely flat. Be aware that when the third row is up, there isn't much cargo space if your crew is bringing along luggage or sports gear. As with virtually all 3-row sport utilities, you should think of the Discovery as a vehicle that's very useful for 5 passengers, and it'll hold a couple more people in a pinch. You'd think this would be a tiny niche segment, but there's quite a lot of competition, including vehicles like Jeep's Grand Cherokee, Volvo's XC90, Audi Q7, Lexus GX, and more. They all have their highs and lows, and test drive a few against this to discover if the Discovery is the one for you. For Driving.ca, I'm Jill McIntosh. And for more SUV news and reviews, be sure to visit us on Instagram and Twitter.